Okay, Van Sickles lived here, and Sextons lived here, and it was originally a schoolhouse, and it would have been back in the early 1900s, late 1800s. So I can remember my dad saying that there was a school here.
Oh yeah, I see there's the historic marker right in front of it. Nice looking building, isn't it?
Very.
Who lives there now? Do you know? No, I don't.
Across the Jenny Hills home, and Havener House still live there?
I don't know. I didn't realize he did. I took piano lessons for 8 years in that house.
Mm-hmm. Mrs. Hills gave piano lessons. Had an old pump in the backyard that actually worked when I was a kid. A hand pump.
Okay.
Remember I told you about Marilyn and about George and the kids?
Traveling around,
Yeah.
seeing different things. Okay. That looks like a real new sign, Sandy.
It is, definitely. And this is the Don and Clara Wilmot home.
Big white one on the corner, right, of Academy of Pettit.
Academy of Pettit. Oh, very,
Always what?
very well maintained.
Maintained, yes. Big old barn in the back.
And that's the same as it's been, right?
Mm-hmm. Same as it's been. There's an apartment upstairs.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, this is right at the intersection of
Pettit and Academy.
Academy on the north side.
And this was originally this was a Hills house, and I can't quite remember. It was Mrs. Hills, and I know she took in boarders. Remember, she had boarders, and then when they passed away, Dick Hurley, he and Natalie bought it and refurbished and added an addition. And they had the 2 boys, Rich and Kevin, and John, 3 boys. And John.
Okay.
Did you find a number on it?
No, I don't see one right now, but this.
This was Donald June and Louise June when I was growing up, and it was Helen and Donna. And Helen married D. Hart, and they had Karen, and I can't remember the other one's name. To put up on the swamp. Paid Charles $5 to move it.
Okay, ready? This is 7783. No.
No,
There's
there's no house number on it.
there is no house number. It is next
But
to
it's the old-
7783.
Yeah, it's on the
West
north
side,
side,
yeah.
north side of the road.
West of 7783. This is the old Usherwood home.
Georgia Houck's mother lived here. Mrs. Usherwood, and Mrs. Maurer was was George's sister. And there was a son too. 778, and it is Rena Rowley's home, and the Rowley home, and her husband had the cannery and the
Oh, okay. Right.
town.
Raleigh.
And see, she lived to be 101 or 102. And she lived here at home. Mother's home, my grandfather's home.
7775.
Yeah, 7775 Academy Street.
And their name was?
James E. Virgil and Lita Mae Virgil. And they lived here a lot of years.
Raised how many kids here?
John, Marion, Evelyn, George, Lita, Greta, Fred, and James.
Wow.
8 kids.
7771 Academy Street.
7771 Academy Street. John and Mabel Virgil lived here, raised 5 children. Virginia, Charles, Catherine, Stephen, and Carolyn. And Mabel Virgil still lives here, and she's 90 years old. And Carolyn lives here with her husband, Mark Oakes. And has lots of fond memories.
That tower is interesting.
Big room. Well, there's 2 stories.
Yeah.
But the front room was this was originally built as a parsonage, I believe.
Oh, really?
This is what the story goes. So, but I don't know what exactly. I think it was the United Church, or one of the churches that came in.
So 2 floors are used, and the 3rd floor is just for storage
And
now?
storage is an attic now.
Where the top windows are.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the trim on the roof. This little turned.
When
Is
I
it
was
all
growing,
wood?
yeah, when I was growing up, that trim was all over the whole house.
Really?
Yeah, and my dad was an economical improver. It was painted gray, and you can see that awful yellow that's sticking out. And the body was painted red.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dad bought what was on sale.
Well, sure. That
So,
side trim is really nice, too.
We used to call him the economic improver.
Well,
It's,
worked.
Yeah, it worked.
Preserved the building.
Yep, and the snowball bushes are all knocked down. They're beautiful in the summer when they're all,
Need to be trimmed up.
yeah, they need to be cut all back now.
All of that just is every year you have to cut back,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
You have to cut that back every year. Few remaining horse blocks
Horse block
in the village.
in
There
front
was
of
one in front
Mabel
of-
Virgil Poland's place.
Here, let me get what you're saying. It's one Ginny back.
This is
That's
the
one Jenny
back side of
back
Mrs. Rowley's house.
Mhm.
It could have been just decorative, you know, the rail. Just the, you know, the property line.
We've been talking about the fenced-in area.
You could still see a lot of flowers are coming up, like daffs and stuff, and there's a lot of myrtle under the...
Oh, it's full
trees.
of myrtle. It used to be full of myrtle. It used to be an up. This was Mr. and Mrs. Dunn lived here, and they had 3 children. It was Arthur, Marjorie, and Mrs. Gardner.
7767 Academy
Mr. Dunn
Street.
was taught school at woodworking at Central Tech, and he had the back side of the barn. He had absolutely gorgeous woodworking shop and did a lot of stuff. He made a dining room. He made a Tiffany lamp that went over the dining room table, and it was big and it was gorgeous.
So this was hobby woodworking?
Mm-hmm.
And was Mrs. Dunn connected to the school here?
Mrs. Dunn was a teacher, and I believe she did teach here at Fabius at one point. Yes. She used to help me with my homework. And when Mr. Dunn passed away, and he had the most wonderful rose garden on the west side of the house. He offered it to Mike and I for our wedding. to have our wedding there.
Oh, okay.
But when he passed away, Mr. Rufo lived here. Frank Rufo and his wife lived here for a little bit, and then Odette Fetzner and Tom Fetzner bought the home.
Okay.
For Halloween, if Gosner's house, and it was built
768.
probably around 1950. I want to say 58.
Okay.
Somewhere along there it was built. And Conrad and Dorothy Gosner. And they had Patricia and Eric and Vanessa and Susie. I'm missing one. No, Kurt. Kurt Gosner all lived here. And I believe Susie lives here now. So
Was this a blank lot?
this was
before?
an empty lot. This was
So
a-
is that sort of like the newest house on the street?
no, up
No?
the other end of the street there's a new house.
Oh, okay.
No, this was, but for my time, this was the newest house that was put on. And the garage was built in the back there. So,
Belong to this house?
it belongs to
Okay.
Mr. Dunn's house.
Empty lot. Mr. Dunn used to flood with water
Yeah,
in the
'cause
winter
it's a little
time.
bit lower, isn't
Yep. He used to flood this lot with water, and we'd all go ice skating on it and play hockey and
it? Cool.
just fun time
Yeah.
until I broke my leg.
And then you weren't allowed to go anywhere, or what?
Well, no, then I did. I couldn't skate for about a year, but I
Right.
did skate after that. But no, we used to ice skate here in the winter.
Yeah, it's perfect because it's just such a shallow
it's
ditch,
just,
you know.
It's just down.
And you don't
enough-
have to do any construction to it. I know people who have, excavated a lot and put a border on it for their kids. This is perfect.
7764.
And it was originally a Hills home.
Tom Wheeler and Scarlett Wheeler live here.
Seven seven one six.
No, 7761.
Sorry.
And this was Grandma Lamorter's house. And Marilyn Clow and I used to play here by the hour, an hour, an hour. And Grandma Lamorter had two boarders. She had Leo Lane and an older gentleman named Hector that played the accordion and tried his hardest to teach Marilyn and I how to play the accordion. And I don't believe either one of us ever did it. And Grandma Lamorter would send us to the store to pick up a loaf of bread or something, and we could walk down to 91, and we could go across on the sidewalk and go to Mr. Rudd's store that was on the corner, just up the corner from Emma Jacoby's, and next door to that was Rudd's store. And then we'd have to come right back, and if we were good, we could get a penny for candy.
Seven seven six zero.
Academy is 7760. Academy was originally Mrs. Clark lived here, and she lived by herself. And when she passed away, Rainbows, Ronald and Thelma Rainbow bought the house and brought in Ron and Tim and Nancy and Tommy. And they raised, because it was a
Is it a one-story?
lower peak.
Oh.
Okay, the peak was the same, but but they put the windows in stuff.
Okay, so it bumped out the attic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like Marilyn was saying yesterday. We used to come over and Thelma would flip pancakes on a Saturday morning, and we'd all eat pancakes. There'd be Clows and us and the Rainbows, and even the Hurleys, and we'd eat pancakes until we would pop, and then we'd go up on the hill and we would slide for hours and hours and hours. And back then we didn't have to get home until supper time.
Yeah.
We didn't have to come home till supper time.
You village kids had all that, and all they had was meat.
Yep. Okay. 1330 Academy
Academy in 91.
in 91. And when I was a kid, this was Ranch Cornew's house. And he had a barber shop on the west side attached, and he was a widower when I remember him. And he used to pay Ginny and I, if we cleaned up his kitchen sink and swept the floor and kept it clean, he'd give us a nickel each for the week for cleaning the kitchen and doing his dishes up. He was a very sweet man. And they've raised...
Carlina and Kermit Breed have raised several children.
Several children. They have a wonderful family. And Carlina Breed is actually was Carlina Chase, and she grew up just up the street on the other side of Pettit Street on Academy Street. The 1326 is Earl and Nett Priest live here now, and when I was growing up it was George and Luana Clow and Marilyn and George, and for a time they lived up in what is the doctor's office's house when Dr. Brende came to town, and Luana was his secretary, nurse, and they lived in the house part of the house. And while they were up there, Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich, who taught 6th grade in Fabius, lived here for the time they were up in the doctor's house.
Which one was this?
Opposite 1326
Okay.
is 1329 Route 91, and Tom and Mary Brennan lived there, and they had Margaret and Patrick. I have a third child syndrome today. I can't remember the third child.
You will remember when you were sometime. We'll put it in later.
It's still owned by Mrs. Brennan, and she's in a nursing home now. I think she's 92.
So is the place just left empty? Wow, there sure are enough empty places
It looks
around
very
here.
lived in.
Traffic noise.
Yeah.
When I was real young, Mrs. Farewell lived here. Dating the lady used to peek out of Grandma's window.
Oh. Yeah, I'll think of it.
Don't slip and don't get run over.
And don't get run over, right? the third Brennan and Martha's last name.
I was wondering if you had any info on this place.
Just farewell. You did.
And just
This is the farewell.
This is the farewell.
Okay, yeah, okay.
But this was just a porch open.
Okay.
You get run over here.
But we're slowing them down.
Who's this little guy?
Ralph Bays lived there.
13, 19?
Okay, wait a minute.
13, 19, 91. He used to have. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going sideways too, I'm not watching.
And I really don't remember who lived here, except it was an old man.
Well, I got it.
In this one here? Mm-hmm. Well, somebody will.
$13.12.
Can't get away far enough.
And I really don't remember.
Next one's got a lot of history.
Which one? This one or that?
Both of them. Both of them have a lot of history.
Now, who lives in this one now?
I have no idea. But this house
Is this Houck's first wife's mother? His first mother-in-law? Is that the one who donated the flower thing?
This is where Fonda Penoyer, she was at Fonda Houck, lived here, or lives here. That's the flowers.
The
and
flower
such.
shop.
That's the flower shop. This is
I thought
This
he
was
said
Emma Jacoby's
this
house.
is Jacoby, where the barber shop was.
Okay, this is 7757.
Why is that funny?
Jimmy remembers everything. He told me who I went to the senior prom with and who he took. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, and you can't remember?
I didn't remember who I did, but I couldn't remember anybody else. You know?
Jimmy has a memory like
Visual memory.
like an elephant. Like an
That's
elephant.
great.
And he's really a nice guy. And we went to school for 13 years with him. And he remembers every one of those 13 years.
He's coming up hopefully for Memorial Day. His son is going to talk about Guantanamo Bay.
Oh, he's okay.
He's
his
the
son
one.
is the one.
Yeah,
Where they live now?
Florida.
Oh, Florida.
They live right down the
Lakeland.
road from me.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that's what he was saying yesterday when he was talking to me.
Small world.
Huh?
Tell him I was up here?
Yeah.
We should get him too. See what kind of different
If
stories
you want,
he can
if
tell.
you want any stories, you know,
Yeah,
let me have them
really.
all.
Oh, here's another one of these horse blocks.
Another horse block. The tree. This was Carol, home when I was growing up. He had a barn, and he had cows.
Here?
Right here.
Yeah.
What, adjacent land?
The barn's gone.
Uh-huh.
It was basically, out to the back.
Okay.
It was a farm. Well, the barn would have been over farther on the other side of the fence, even.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did it become a flower shop?
When Fonda
Took it over?
took it
Probably
over.
20 years ago.
Yeah, I think
Penny-
Fonda bought it from Jean.
Yeah.
After Mrs. Terrell. Mrs. Terrell, is she still alive?
No. but they went and built the apartments down on Mill Street.
Oh.
And then Jean and Mabel lived down there. And then Mabel's health went downhill. And then Mabel went to live with the daughter Evelyn in the state of Washington. And Jean was by himself, and then finally he went out there. They are both deceased now. Okay. I don't know if Tim can remember, but this guy here would come down and plow out Timmy's driveway when he lived down there right in that house, which Gary Host owns now, and I think that's Gary Host's pickup truck right there. Quite a while?
I can just remember, don't put this down, Michael. I can just remember when Mr. Hall, and that corner was just a kind of a grubby stone building gas station, had an old Texaco sign. Okay, that was really kind of grody looking. And then Roy Powers put the Phillips 66 there.
Ashland,
Sure,
Ashland.
Ashland.
And we have a picture of that up in the museum.
Now, it had Ashland gas station here.
Yep.
Okay, where was the store? Where was Red?
Right there.
Where that building is?
That was Red Store.
And that was what?
Is that
That
the
was-
one to move?
That was a
No,
grill.
that's not the one
That was a grill?
That was a grill, a bar and grill.
We're talking about the 50s now, or what are we talking about?
We're talking
50s
about
and 60s.
Okay.
40s,
And
50s,
70s.
40s, 50s,
70s.
60s, and 70s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Red Store and grill.
Yeah, and the information was that, I think that was a restaurant.
A what?
I think there was a restaurant next to that. I think if
White
I go,
House?
I think if I go
the
back,
bottom floor was a restaurant, I think.
Yeah,
Years
because
and years and years ago.
some of your old pictures, some of your
Yeah.
pictures, Charlie Shea was going through them with Linda Myers and
Okay,
me, and he was
alright.
talking about those.
And that would be before our time. It was a
Right, yeah.
restaurant. It wasn't a restaurant when we were little, but
Right.
it was at one time, they said.
Yeah, this was the lower end of the
This
bar.
is called the lower end.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
because it
It
slants
was always
a little
referred
bit.
to as the lower end.
And that's where you'd see Del Digny's truck
Dale
parked out there.
Dingley's truck used to sit right there, a red truck, and the dog used to be in the back. And Dell would be in the grill, and the dog would drive him home.
Yeah, now?
I don't know.
I'll ask Tim. I can't remember if he,
I could have sworn when he gave me that flour barrel
yeah.
that he said his first wife's, his mother-in-law, his first wife's mother was living on the corner of 91 and 80. And I don't know her name. I lost this little slip of paper. He gave it to me, because he basically was all verbal during the Dairy Festival.
Yeah.
I got to ask him again.
Did he have a beard? He was kind of
See, this was Red Store.
the guy who gave you.
No, it was Emil. How?
Oh, all right.
His first wife's mother.
All right.
7759, somewhere in there.
The building that they moved.
That was Rumac Store.
Yeah. Now where was
It
that?
was originally
all right.
Hamilton's store.
Okay. Yeah, we got about more.
Down
four
that
more
end.
It was at the other end where your brother's gas station is.
Oh, they just moved across the
They
road.
moved it
That's-
across the street
where is
over
she?
to the back of Charles
Okay,
Chase.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay. She got something to read so she can stay put? Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye. Isn't that the cutest?
Yeah.
I was surprised they all stay, but they're probably all plastic or something, but they
Yeah.
look so cute.
This is still recording. I thought I had it shut off. Sorry.
Uh-oh, hope you didn't say anything you didn't want to.
I don't think so.
Does that got sound on it too?
Yes.
This was Mr. Tonight's house, Hank Tonight. lived here. And when he passed away, there was another, I think Charlie tonight was here for a while, and his wife. And then in later years, Jerry tonight, when he married, lived here. I think it was Jerry. Lived here, and they did a lot of remodeling. That would have been in the late 60s, early 70s. 7767 is where Anthony Serio and Mrs. Serio, who taught school in Fabius, and their children all lived. There's Andy and Kay, Mary, and
Donna?
Eileen,
Eileen.
or Midge, and Eileen. Is that all of them?
There's no Donna?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
We might be missing one.
Mm-hmm.
Sixth child syndrome.
Oh, I'm fine. Route 80. Route 80 is the Gosner home, and we're Conrad Gosner and Charles Gosner and Doc Gosner and Carol Gosner all lived growing up. And Carol Gosner, does she still live here? Still lives here.
Does that back up to the other Gosner property?
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm. Route 80. When I was growing up, this was the Murdant home, and Mr. Murdant was highway superintendent and ran all the plows and did the road work for all the towns.
So that was Howard Murdant, right?
Right.
Okay. (7783) Route 80, Main Street.
7783 Route 80. When I was growing up, this was Mr. and Mrs. Brown's house. And I really don't remember much about them except they were elderly.
What does it say back there? Nicholas? No. On the garage.
The Nicholases.
The Nicholases.
Yes.
One of Betty and Bob's kids.
(7787) Route 80, Main Street. I believe this house was
It was Gallinger's.
Gallinger's.
Mrs. Gallinger worked in the cafeteria at school. And Mr. Gallinger, I believe, worked for GE.
Okay.
And
He was one of the Little League coaches for a while.
yes, he was. Mr. Gallinger was a Little League coach. There's
Okay.
Art and Jim and Bill all grew up here.
Okay.
The addition on the east side of the house was put on,
West side.
or west side of the house was put on in the late 50s.
Huh.
Because I can remember it being just that half.
Okay. And I have a picture from a parade dating back to about 1923 showing this house. And Charlie Shea says that it was Bert Baker's house back then.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
7793 Route 80, Main Street. When I was growing up, Mr. and Mrs. Barnes here lived here. Mrs. Barnes played piano and organ for the Baptist Church. And Winola Barnes, who's their daughter. And
This house was built by the Skeel
the Skeel
Constructions.
family,
Yeah.
or Skeel Construction.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I believe the Rowley house was too. think it was.
Most likely.
But
It's really nice.
very nice. Oh, it's got, you know, the leaded
Porches.
windows.
Oh, the big porches.
Gorgeous.
Is that pump original?
Yes. I think so. It's been there for as long as I can remember.
Definitely.